where my story used to be, my father was a criticizer and was hard and didn't love me. My story now is my father gifted me with his knowledge and his wisdom to prepare me to step into everything that I was created to do. Even this, my father prepared me for this. I learned how to be on a stage because my daddy was on a stage, singing and talking and telling jokes. He wasn't really good at telling jokes, but he did it with love and with fervor. But I watched him as a child, and it prepared me for my purpose. So my story feels good now, and these are like tears of joy, gratefulness. Yeah. You know, that I was able to have that experience with my dad. And now I have this new story that I intentionally created. But one of the things that I want to bring up here is I did that myself. That came to me intuitively to do. But we can do it with people as well. Mm-hmm. But I want to ask you a question and challenge you. What types of energy are you inviting into your relationships? I'm getting chill bumps as I'm saying it. Are you inviting the energy of destruction? Are you going and telling your business to people who having the same problems, who cannot help you because the blind can't lead the blind? Or are you inviting energy into your relationships that is going to strengthen you and help you and show you the way? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, my tears was for gratitude as well, but it expanded in the moment of how your father's example to you and your awareness of that example to you and what he seeded in you to bloom, and how that is such a beautiful depiction of source allowing certain things that are in our life that we see as struggle, that we see as a disadvantage, the traumas we experience as a child, things that are sometimes very unfortunate and very devastating. I have a very murky childhood, as we know. Mm-hmm. But what I told you, even last night or yesterday, that I always knew Source was with me. I had that connection, fortunately. But what I'm seeing is even in this expression of how you have articulately depicted this divine purpose and this gift that your father gave, that's what Source gives us. Yes. But because it's hard, and because we don't completely understand everything that's going on, every piece of mud we step in is to be able to recognize mud when we see it, to be able to cleanse and to know how, and to be able to uplift and affirm people where they are. Right. But first and foremost, ourselves. But it is a preparedness. Yes. We are being prepared. And I said to you, even in your counsel of me yesterday, and I just appreciate your availability of your heart, of your just the sincerity of it, because I knew that Source and you were being obedient to that call. I knew in the moment, because you know I didn't want you to come. In my mind.
And sometimes we don't want the help.
In my mind, Craig. Yep. I didn't want you to come, but I knew that Spirit was a part of that, and I knew that you were being driven by a very pure place. And just listening to that and going through the preparedness. It's like even in this, in the pain of the discipline, Hebrews 1:11, 12 through 13, even in the pain of the discipline, you are being prepared. So when we allow ourselves to surrender, you said something yesterday. You said we have God's will and we have God's permissive will. That's
God's perfect will and God's permissive will.
Right, God's perfect will and God's permissive will. And his permissive will is our free will. Right, expression. And I chose to get in alignment. I used my free will to surrender to God's perfect will. Yeah. And it changed everything, because in that surrender, I was gifted with what I needed literally to bring me to the next stage. And I know, and I even said to you, I have a lot of work to do on this. Right. This is now coming up to be cleansed. And see, we think that as we grow, some of us believe that I've arrived. Right. As long as we are in body, we will constantly, I don't care what level we go to,
That's right.
we will always continue to do the work. But I am just grateful to the Holy Spirit in this moment. And I just have to say it now. I'm grateful to the Holy Spirit for dealing with me gently enough that I am being given things at a rate where I can handle them.
And what happened yesterday between us, and what happened with my dad, and this is the next key component, and this will help you to save relationships, because we're talking today about how I can save my relationship, is my dad sacredly sowed into me and sacredly sowed into me. And I sacredly sowed into you, and I sacredly sowed into you.
Absolutely.
And this is how we save our relationships. This is how we strengthen our relationships. This is how we build our relationships. You know, I could have maybe had 1,000,001 things to do yesterday. But that was important to me because of my relationship with you. We have 1,000,001 things that we have to do in our relationships of intimacy with our parents. Parents call you need something, children call you need something. But you have to step back sometimes and say, okay, what is love asking me to do in this moment?
And you checked in to see if that was your charge. You didn't just run in to rescue or to just jump in and be a part of. Because as counselors, a lot of times, and just as women who are givers, sometimes we can overreach. You know, we were talking about the vitamins yesterday and the sugar and the syrup scenario. That a good thing can turn into a poisonous thing when it is in overload. And we have got to stay in a place of balance, in a place of harmony. And so even though I am your sister, you love me, and you would want to, you know, be a part of that, you still checked in first to see if this was being asked of you, and then you answered the call.
And everything that's good, like we talked about yesterday with the sugar and the syrup, everything that's good or presents itself as pleasant is not good when it's done too much. And like we talked about with the butterfly and the little boy, sometimes you can do too much to the point of being detrimental. Sometimes you need to step back, because sugar is good. You add sugar to your lemonade and it's good. Add too much sugar to your lemonade and it's not good.
Exactly. It's like,
you know, it's too sweet. You can have an overload of stuff or too much of stuff. So learning even how to balance things in relationships is so key and so important. You know, sometimes you might need to run to the rescue of someone, and sometimes you might need to let them just sit with it for a minute, you know, because the worst thing that we can do is interfere with purpose. And I believe that there's a purpose and a time for everything under the sun. Everything. Everything. But sometimes it's just taking a moment to step back, breathe. What is this about? What is this coming to teach me? What is the message in this for me? What is the message that I have for this person? And if we look at our relationships as being an even exchange, as the person coming into your life to bring something, and the person coming into your life to receive something at the same time. But you have to be willing to give, and you have to be willing to receive. And being on the receiving end sometimes doesn't feel good. But what is the purpose, ultimately, of these two souls coming together? In relationship.
And I think it's important for us to illustrate that the sacred sowing, SOWING, and the sacred sowing, SEWING, is at an individual level and at a partner level. Partner meaning any relationship. And that is, I actually made note here, it is faith in action, prayer, meditation, relational auditing, which is reflection, emotional and perceptual cleansing, which is introspective, the releasing of outdated programs, behaviors, and thoughts, sexual energetics for the non-platonic relationships, for the intimate relationships with an intimate other, is also falling under the sacred sowing, and so these are components of how we sow. We sow into ourselves, and we sow into the relationship, and we sow into each other.
Correct.
And it's taking these tools and these components of that. Pray with your partner. Pray alone. Take responsibility. You know, do a relational audit. It's necessary. You know, stepping back and seeing what did we agree to. Where are we in staying on track with those goals? Yeah. Assessing whether those goals are still even something we aspire to do. Yeah. And there may be some renegotiation. And if it's not, and it's still clear, but you, for whatever reason, have fallen off track, the relational audit is to get you back in gear so that you can keep plowing forward to what it is that you ultimately, you know, seek to achieve.
And I love that concept. You know, I heard that concept from you, and that's something that I'm going to apply in my relationship. You know, because it comes back to the communicating, and it comes back to things change, excuse me, over time. So you have to come back to the table and see, okay, where are we at now? Are we on track? Do we need to shift a little bit? Do we need to add some more things that we hadn't thought of before? So I love that, and I think that's really key. You know, we really want to give that to you. Do a relationship audit, you know, where you sit down with your partner and you see, you know, what are the things that we agreed to? Are we on track with that? Do we see a need to maybe change some of these things? Move some stuff, put some new stuff there, and, you know, how do we go forward from this time? But doing everything by intention. It's as simple as that. It's just setting the intention. It's as simple as that. You know, and so we've come down to the end. Oh boy, how time flies when you're having fun. We have come to the end of yet another segment. I want to thank you guys so much for the feedback. The amazing feedback that you have been giving to us, you know, through calls, through emails, through posting on our pages. And I want to invite you to continue to do that. If there's anything that you would love for us to talk about, please feel free to offer your suggestions. We ask that you will follow us on Facebook at Let's R.A.P.P Media.
And on Twitter.
We're now
Let's
at
Media. Yes.
Let's R.A.P.P Media. We ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want to get in contact with us individually, you can reach us at Let's R.A.P.P Media at gmail.com. Send us an email and we will definitely get back to you. We're going to continue to talk about relationships. And maybe you feel like you can't save your relationship. Maybe you feel like your relationship is over. Maybe you feel that divorce is absolutely necessary. We want to talk next week about that and what does that really mean, divorce, and how to do it. Are you doing it right? Because you actually end the contract, it doesn't mean that you're now separate from this individual, especially if you have children together.
Actually, that's not going to change.
Not at all. You're still in a relationship with this person. But yeah, we want to talk about that. How do we transition from a relationship to not being in a relationship of commitment, I guess you would say, because we're still in a relationship. How do we do that in a loving, pure, from a higher
from a loving place.
Yeah.
And even in relationship where you can't change the dynamic of, well, not the dynamic, but the status of the relationship or how the relationship is labeled, like between parents and children and siblings who aren't speaking and different things like that. How do you move to the next level of health in the relationship based on what is going on? And what does that look like, even if it looks like there is some kind of separation in that momentarily? Right. How do we do that from a healthy place?
So that's what we're going to talk about, not divorce. We're going to talk about separation, because separation does become necessary in many different relationships at times. So how do we make the separation from a loving, pure, high perspective? So that's what we're going to talk about next week. So again, we want to thank you so much for tuning in. Please continue to send us love and light energy, because we need it.
Please lift us up.
Yes.